Hey everybody, I'm making some really easy, fast, simple pretzels. And this is from scratch, and I'm gonna list the ingredients as I go. And you can see me make it and the end result. I'm not making too many. I'm making a half a batch, but nevertheless, I'm gonna make the dry mix and save it in a bag, and only gonna use half of it because I only want. It makes about like four decent sized big pretzels, and these are the hot, chewy, like soft ones. Alright, you would need some baking soda, some cornmeal, some garlic powder, onion powder, baking powder, some kosher salt. I like to use fast acting yeast, and also I have this kosher salt like this. And I'm already sifting the flour. I already got 1 cup already sifted. I'm going to do 1 more cup. It calls for 3 cups into this recipe of flour. And I'm only sifting it like a couple of times. Just keeping it really kind of on the fluffy side. I'm going to leave it out because when the dough comes out, I might need to do that as well with it. Like, just might need it and all that good stuff. Okay. Now I sifted the flour. It's all good to go. Next, I'm going to put in some brown sugar. This is very dark brown sugar. I need to mix this into the ratio of flour, no matter how much you want to make, is 1 to 3. You can't really spooge on the sugar. It may seem like a lot of sugar, but it's sort of necessary. It doesn't taste like a bread that at this point. It's more of a donut, like in a way. And the molasses and everything just coincides with it. Not packing it like just loose, putting it kind of all in there. Boop, and there it goes. And now I'm going to incorporate this as a like mixing the flour with the sugar, but I'm also at this point doing a couple other things. I'm adding a teaspoon or 2. I'm actually gonna, I like them a little fluffy, so I'm gonna do 2. There's 1, there's 2. There's baking powder. I do have some bougie olive oil. I'm going to be putting this in as my oil. This is from Greece. This is awesome stuff. And so I'll be using that. And I'm just using fast acting yeast in the can. It's never been opened, so it will pop its seal. At this point, you could put a little bit of salt into the mix, but I don't know. I cook a lot, so I'm a little like I use this word a lot. I'm a little bougie. This is my seasoning salt that I made with leek powder, which I have my own leeks that I dehydrate in the yard and stuff, and I make them into a powder. And so there's leek powder in here, and then there's onion powder in here, and there's garlic powder in here. So I'm just gonna give it a little dusting of that in here, and that's my salt that I put in there. Okay, now I'm going to incorporate this and mix it all together until it's like a light brown. You can even sift this again after you get the sugar and everything in here, but to make sure there's no lumps of sugar. But at this point, I've done this so long that like I can feel for it. And sometimes you can just shake the bowl side to side a little bit, like without spilling it, and they all surface to the top, the little balls of brown sugar. And you just kind of feel it in there. Or you can use a whisk, and that will also break it up, or put it in your ready mixer if you really wanted it to. Just didn't feel like lugging that out and cleaning it. Just doing it old school before I had a mixer. And once you're done feeling for all of those pieces, and the flour seems to be all in one type of consistency, no lumps. Little lumps are okay, but I mean, they will disintegrate once you start kneading the dough. So don't feel sorry that you didn't get all of it. It will all work out. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this stuff away because I already used it. A baking soda is very important. It's almost like a whole box to a stock pot. I got about 10 cups of water in here, and I'm going to put about 2/3 cup of water. I'm going to also preheat my oven at 170. I'm going to act as a proofer. Proof. And now this is the dry mixture. Now I will put like a little well in the center, and that's where I'm going to put my oil when I'm ready. I will put the oil in there when I do the yeast. Now I'm going to activate some yeast. I mean, I could use a little bit more brown sugar, or I could use some regular sugar, but I'm going to use just regular. Okay. And I'm going to need some water. I'm not using a lot of water. It's like less than a couple ounces. It's just to dissolve the sugar, and then I'm gonna put it in the microwave for a little bit, maybe like a good 15 seconds, and then check the temperature of it because you don't want it to be over too hot because it will kill the yeast. And then I'm going to take the water that I have out here and add some yeast, and it's going to be pretty fast, and by that time the oven will be already ready to go, and then I'll be waiting on to making them into the bath, but that will take time too. Like it all commences really fast once you add the yeast. Okay, checking the temperature. And well, it's like negative temperatures today. Like it's really cold outside, snow and wind and things. So like it's pretty cold, and it's almost 120. I'm gonna let it go to like 110ish, and then I'm gonna let it because I don't want it to be woke up really fast. I mean, if you can't put your finger in it long, it's too hot. Obviously, like you can use your finger like that. Like it should be like a little bit more room temperature. I would say more type around 100. Otherwise, if you have bad yeast, you'll see a clump, and you should hear a seal. This one didn't have a seal, so I didn't hear a pop. So we're gonna see if it doesn't work or not. If not, it's not a big deal. There's a way of going about it without the yeast, because sometimes you get bad yeast. I do have a packet of yeast that I can always use, and if you want the exact measurement, these packets are perfect. I'm good. Let's see, it's already ready. So these little packets are great. Like it's just one of these packets instead of using the jar if it doesn't work. Just waiting for this to come to temperature. And I did it in glass because it holds the temperature a little longer. What's that, 100? Cool. It is a little hot to my standards, but I'm going to wait a little longer. Now, cornmeal is like what I use for the pan. Like when you get a cookie sheet, when you're ready, when they're poofing and everything, you're layering them down on this. And plus I'll have a towel too that we put them on with the bath. So I just take like some cornmeal and pretty kind of semi-generously, like enough to coat the bottom. Because it will dust off with them. Like you're not going to eat it and be all crunchy or anything. It's just so it doesn't stick. Now while I'm waiting for the yeast to start doing stuff, I'm going to season my kosher salt. Like this is a way to eliminate a lot, and you can just butter brush it like 7 minutes in. So I put a little bit of kosher salt in a dish. And I'm going to mix a few things to go in it. Like, here's some of my famous leek powder. That's leeks, like, you know, it's like an onion. But it's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take about a pinch of that in there, or so. I like the taste of them, so I use this a lot. Now I'm using some onion powder in this. Give it about a quarter teaspoon. About a teaspoon and 2 teaspoons of kosher salt if you want a measurement. Here's some garlic powder, add a little bit of that to it. Okay, that's exhausted. And I like a little parsley in it. So put a little bit of parsley. Okay. And I'm going to mix this. This is my seasoning salt. If you can't tell there's salt in it, then you need to put more in it versus your seasoning. It should be pretty even. And I'm going to add a little bit more salt. It's not going to go bad. You can always save it in another little container. I had exhausted my garlic. So what I'll do is I'll just take off the label, because I've already got garlic powder in this, and I'll label it, and I'll do pretzel salt, and I'll save the salt for like the next time I'm doing whatever, like pretzels or whatever. So now I'm adding in the yeast. I'm adding about 1 teaspoon into it and dissolve it. Now, when it starts to froth, I'm going to put the olive oil actually in this with it. So that way it, the oil will like be incorporated into the flour at the same time. It'll dissolve nicely, didn't clump. Okay, let's see how this baby fizzes. And as soon as it gets frothy, that's when we start. So I'm going to open up this bougie olive oil. And I'm putting in a good little, about teaspoonish. You can also use bacon grease or butter. For all you edible fans, you could put your can of butter in here. Maybe just 2 tablespoons of butter in here. And you can also brush it with it too, with the garlic, either or. And I'm going to let that fizz. Once that's ready, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And incorporate this in. And then I'm going to have a little pitcher of water as well on the side. I'm not going to use no more than a cup of water. Just tap warm. Might nuke it, is a little cold. Okay, my water's about to start boiling, so I'm going to add in the baking soda and the bath water. Now, do it kind of when it's cold, or do it kind of slow while it's hot. This is a quarter of a box. I'm going to do the whole thing. Okay. Cool. It's not hot at all. It's just a little bit warm, room temperature-ish. This is actually about ready to go. See how it's like doubled its mass. It's like half and half fizzy, like the top layer, and it's like a little line. It's close to the same color, but it's starting to froth. So it's ready to go. And I have the oven proofing. This needs to be mixed a little bit, and then you need something to be able to do like a recovery from being inside of this. Meaning like maybe a I actually have a very special tool. Like I washed in the dishwasher, so it's like this. It's got a broken handle, so I can put it in there in my stock pot better. And I'll use that to do the bath for the water. And I need a towel. This is the towel for the station to salt them when I'm ready for it. I think I'm going to put this over here until I'm ready. And I'll put this here. Go. And as soon as that's to a boil, I can put them in there, and it's really close. So I'm going to go ahead and start dumping this, and then I might need more flour. If not, I have the flour handy. Dumping that in. Taking a little bit of the water in here, swishing this around, and putting that in there with it. And I'm going to start mixing it. Now, I can probably dump this all in here because it probably won't be this whole cup of water. Because they're kind of like it's a dense dough. So as long as it looks like that, it's all clumped together and it's loose in there, there's no more flour, it's time to mix. I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to mix it. Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more flour. It's always easier to add a little bit of flour to it than take it away. I'm going to use a half a cup at a time. Half of this, it's actually a quarter cup. I want it to get into a ball. It's a little bit more moist than normal, so I'm going to probably put this whole half cup in. Yeah, that's enough for consistency. You don't want the dough to be too soft and mushy. You want it to be kind of on the firm side. And as you make it, you'll learn your ratio, how chewy you want them. The more you knead it, the more chewier it gets. I'm also kneading it inside the bowl. Less mess on the counter. A bit more controlled environment for it. Now, this dough, I'm going to save half of it instead of the flour. I changed my mind early in to just make the dough, and I can freeze it. So I'm gonna freeze like half of this dough, like frozen pizza dough. And go back to it when I want it. Instead of making a bunch of them and freezing them already made, this way I can just thaw them out and be good to go. Now, it definitely sucked up all the flour. Okay, I'm actually going to put it on the counter now just because it's a flat surface. And just like bread dough, just knead it, folding it into the center, pushing your palm out, kind of like you're smearing it with the bottom palm of your palm. And if it's really sticky, then you need more flour. But this is actually a good consistency. I'm actually happy with this. And I'm going to cut half of it and freeze it immediately. So I'm going to spray the bag with cooking spray because I don't want that to stick when I do that. So here's the bag. I'm just gonna, there we go. It's coated. And then I'm gonna cut this in half. And then I'm just gonna round it. And then I'm gonna put it in the bag. Now I'm going to seal it, and what's really going to be fun is I'm going to flatten it into a square. Okay, I did this with my hamburger meat as well. And then I just will divide it like so. And now I have 4 equal parts, and I freeze it. I can re-loosen it and then put it back into pieces, but that's pieces. Portions. And done. Okay. Now we're making some, I'm making like pretzel bites. So they're gonna be like a little different. I'm cutting all this into 4 pieces. And then half again. Okay, so now I have 8. And I'm just gonna go like, some people call it baking a turd, whatever. I'm just, it's not your traditional shape that most people go for with a pretzel. I mean, you could do that if you wanted to. But I'm doing them as a twist, so they'll look like that. And then I'm going to line them up on my towel that I have, because I'm getting ready for the next station of making these pretzels. Right now I'm just rolling them all. I will be making a melted butter solution as well, but once I'm free from doing this other stuff. Right now I'm just doing twists. You can freeze these too, and they still will boil and do all of that. Just make sure they're thawed when you do the bath. You can stuff these, make them the dough different. The brown sugar really makes it like kind of brown. Three more to go. And then I'm going to put you guys more to look at the bowl as I'm putting them in the... whatever. I was going to write it down, the recipe, but then I figured I could still do that in the comments and stuff later and just reuse this video over and over instead of repeating the same thing over and over. Everybody could just watch the same video, you know, like watch the same video. And you can rewind it and everything if you lose a step. Okay. All right. There's 8 and 8. All right. Now I'm going to get my station ready for the... I'm actually going to put these on the counter here because I'm going to get the salt. I didn't want them to keep them on the counter too long because they might stick to it. This way it dried a little bit. And the salt mixture that I've made. I'll put that over here. In between, you got to make sure that